So this is called Waiting in the Unknown. Hope is my stronghold. I hope you enjoy it. This is the last one from this book. And then we will move on to some more pieces, a bit older, and a couple more that I hope you enjoy. I want to hold your hand, walk with you again. Though my heart is grieving the distance, I keep my hope alive. Someday we shall be together. I don't know where or when. It is a long journey, holding out when uncertainty lies ahead. You can only watch and pray. Be vigilant, not complacent. It takes so much for me to stand strong, though I am weary. My feet trod the well-worn path. I can't do much except walk on. As the days grow short, hours are memories. I cherish the temporary setbacks and shortfalls. Bliss and wanderlust amidst the messy, confounded moments. In the valley of the shadow, I will not fear death or despair. Joy shall awaken in the sunrise. I sense that I won't forget you are here. I cannot see, but I believe in someday coming soon. And I do believe in the someday coming soon. Right now, we are starting to, in my state, I don't know how any of your states are going, if it's like mine, where we're starting to go back to going out into the public and things are changing. And I know a lot of people are saying, I want to go back to normal or some semblance of normal. But let's be honest, folks. Normal is non-existent. Normal is something we have set and made as sort of a standard for people to follow. And my idea of normal is different from your idea of normal. Let me give you an example of that. So, my idea of normal is a day when I don't feel too bad, when I'm having a kind of good day. Your idea of normal might be feeling absolutely 100% healthy. I don't know that. That's unknown to me. I'm a disabled person. I have a chronic illness. I'm chronically ill. That means no vacation time. I might have a great day, but then I know the pendulum will swing back and I will have a not so great day. I'm used to it. That's my normal. For you, it might be not so normal. You might go, what? What? Wait a minute. I can't handle that. And I'm so sick and tired of hearing that about people saying that I don't know if I can handle what you do. It would be too much. How do you know? You're not in my shoes. You don't understand that. Please don't say that and stop saying that. So that's enough of me going on my soapbox right now. And we're moving on to another one of my books that I had written called Brainwaves. Really exciting. I wrote this in honor of my grandmother. She's in her 90s and she used to teach piano, but she doesn't so much anymore. I had a lot of memories of her teaching piano. And so I'm going to review some of my pieces on this. And I call this one, If Memory Were Fine. If memory were fine, if I could build my, this is from If Memory Were Fine. If I could build my brain to restoration, test its limits and have the infinite rise. If memory weren't so elusive, maybe then I'd cease to forget. The essential pieces matter, and not cling to foolish things. But I have an eraser buffering away the little bits I want to keep. Those that remain are in the inane. Oh, but I must engrain the essential on my brain, so my heart can sing the words well recited in childhood to rock me to sleep in its lullaby. So I wrote another one. This is constant for my brain. It's always on fire, which is kind of like having electricity going off in your brain. And my brain acts so different. It's wired differently, and I celebrate the different wiring in my brain. I call this one My Brain is on Fire. My brain is on fire, inflamed with activity, full of neurons bouncing erratically. I feel its heat burning my scalp. I want my mind calm. Hippocampus must recall moments, time and space, hours engraved, where they used to be. I need to seek rest, quiet in the process, little bits of peace, quenching the flaming fire engulfing my brain. Feel the silence and be still. Enjoy the moments unplugged from overtaxing my senses, though I feel restless. I have to slow down and breathe. So that's kind of a little piece of how my brain works. But this is even more so. It's called Crosswire. My brain is, I'm a synesthete. which means my brain can sense colors and music in a totally different way than a lot of people do. We're a very rare group of people, and I can see colors and music with different colors, and sometimes I can smell color. I know you might think, oh, what? That's bizarre, but that's my normal. And when most people see Roy G. Biv, the standard colors of the rainbow, I see hundreds of thousands of colors. That's how my brain works, because I can see that all, and it just never quits. So this is a tribute to that, called Crosswire. The muddled mind needs to be rerouted. Neurons sent mixed signals. Despite numerous attempts, its root source of confusion plummets to unknown depths. Mind wrestling with its concept of normal, perception enhanced in an unknown sense. Touch, sight, taste, and smell are heightened in their own way. If only it were easy to explain my brain's crosswire. That's kind of how my brain works a lot of the time. And I'm going to do this one for the back of my brain called the cerebellum. This whole book is different parts of the brain, so I hope you enjoy this one called For Cerebellum. Dear Lord, direct me so I don't fall or lose my step in the world. Help me balance my schedule. I refuse to overload my shoulders. One can only hold so much. I'm human, not an automaton. I fall apart and must recharge my batteries. Remind me once again, should I feel defeated, I am fine to leave the day undone. There is no need to rush. I have a bigger need to slow down and realign my relationship with you. And this next one is kind of one of my personal favorites because I've been, over my years as an advocate, an activist, as a disabled person, I have grown very weary of being called brave. I hate it. Don't call me brave. I cannot stand it. Just because, oh, you go through so many seizures, or you've had this happen, or you had that. Oh, you're just so brave. Ugh. Or, or isn't that special? Ugh. It irks me to no end. Being called brave or special, I don't like it because it's just saying that I have no worth and that I must be separate, and kind of denotes me into another category of, not that I'm a, not because I identify as disabled. No, they do. It happens because, oh, because you're special because it's different. You're different, so therefore you're wrong, and you must be. And it kind of, I don't know how to explain this, except as this way: when you call someone special in the disabled community, you're telling them you're a baby. You're infantilizing them. You're turning them into a baby. You're telling them they're no better than a baby. And it's wrong. And I ask you and implore you, if you're doing this, ask yourself, are you treating them as a person? Are you respecting them when they say they are a disabled person? And ask yourself, is that how you would want to be treated? Talked down to as an infant or a toddler? And if you say no, then please stop. Please respect the disabled community. And that's a public service announcement for me. Please respect the disabled community. We do not want to be treated like babies. We do not like it. We absolutely despise it. You're only driving us further away from being part of the community. You're telling us we can never be part of the community because the world's not made for us. We know that. We're quite aware of it. So please stop. This is called Don't Call Me Brave. It's sort of been my response to people who call me brave or an inspiration, and I'm not any of those. I kind of shun that. It makes me bristle. So this is kind of my response to this. Don't call me brave because I have a disease or disability. Don't say I have courage for tying my shoes or lifting my spoon as a record milestone to engrave on my tomb. It is inspiration porn, holding me up, mocking, degrading, cold aspiration, comparing myself to another in my community. Don't say I have no excuses. I should climb a mountain or go to graduate school. I am not your idea, your golden goose, your choken crip or golden goose. Call me by name, call me a friend, an associate. Don't call me brave. Unless you mean to say, I fight stereotypes, misnomers, myths. I educate, take down ableism by number and name. Don't call me brave for disability's sake. So you might be like, mic drop. Oh, Janelle's ice cold there. You might say, oh, you're ice cold there. Ooh. If I trampled on your toes, I will not apologize for it. I'm telling it like it is because I'm tired of apologizing for being disabled. And I will never apologize for that. Ever. So, this last one, I'm saving for later, towards the end. I'm going to move on to the next one from Valley of the Shadow. This is another book I had written. I based it off the Psalms, and I kind of wanted to write about the continuation of the as we kind of transition back into the community. Sort of a now, what do we do with it? How do we process it, and how can we better be a community? Because there's so much angst, anxiety, and disconnect, I would say, on so many levels. And the disabled community feels a lot of it. I've talked to so many people in my disabled community who've felt this on an nth level, and they have told me in so many words that they have never experienced so much ableism in all the years they've been around. They've never felt so much ableism. Um, and it's heartbreaking to hear that from a number of people in my community, to say that they've never experienced so much ableism, for being blamed for bringing the pandemic, or just being told that they're taking advantage of getting, say, a vaccine, or cutting in line to get advantages, or always having to prove that they're disabled all the time, as a form of identification. And it's hard. And I know how that feels. It's just so discouraging, and it's disheartening, and it makes you really mad. To quote a line from a popular Dixie Chicks song, I'm not ready to play nice, and I'm not ready to back down. I'm as mad as hell. And that's how a lot of them feel. Like, they're just so angry about it. And I really kind of can't blame them for feeling this way, because I understand and I totally get it. So I've kind of written a lot of these feelings, this angst, this anger, this bitterness. I kind of put it into this book a little bit. So I really channeled a lot of it into this book. So here's one of them, called The Bank of Turmoil. There's just been so much turmoil this year, and last year, going into this year even. So here it goes. At the Bank of Turmoil, deposit your weary fears and snares. Make a checking account of the hope, a savings account of love and peace. We can loan you perseverance to aid in your crises, guaranteed. No refunds of your terrors or doubts. We will store them away in a security box far from your mind. And I wrote this next piece during one of my alone times, and it just sort of popped into my head when I was just on a walk in my alone time. And I call this one Modern Habakkuk. So here we go. Though the bank account is empty and transportation is down, though the workload is low and the heartache is high, though my friends are far away and loneliness is close, though I am in town for another year and am still living at home, still I rejoice in God. I thank Jesus, my Savior. He secures my feet. He enables me to leap like a deer, bounding above the heights, so I will not fall. May his name be praised evermore. And So the next piece I wrote because a lot of people have kind of asked me over the years, how can I help? What can I do? Do I have to donate money to you? Like, donate money to my work? Yeah, but and there, should I donate it to a cause? I'm like, no, you really don't have to donate money, though it does help. It's better if you put your time and effort into something rather than donating money any day of the week. It's better to show up than to put your money into something, to be honest. So I kind of wrote this down as a response. Live out love. And I hope you're living out love instead of just saying you'll live it. Put your words to actions. So here it goes. Keep your thoughts. They won't restore the damage done. There's more than enough to blight out of sight, out of mind. You advise from your armchair, claiming to know what is best, instead of stepping from your comfort zone. Saying someone else does the work, rather than being the change. It's easier to sit and complain than getting dirty, stretching your hands, reaching out to care, breaking your heart a billion times, sitting in silence to listen and cry. Close your mouth. You do more hurt when you speak. Silence works in a noisy atmosphere. When you talk, ask how you can help. If I don't know, offer your time to come over. You can share dinner, some movie time. How about a clean house? Or snow shoveling my drive. Why not play a board game? Do some painting or go for a walk outside. There's more to life than watching TV or all the internet babbling. You can join me in living love, giving love, serving in love. Your heart will grow. It will feel light. A glowing smile shine in your eyes. You will find it is worth all the time in the world. And that's just kind of how I felt about it. And so I don't know about you, but I kind of have a mixed relationship with social media. I don't like it, but at the same time, I have to use it. Otherwise, I won't connect with people. So this is kind of how I feel about the internet. This is kind of a social networking piece, how I feel about it when I write about it. I call it the vast wasteland. In the vast wasteland, the world longs for me to add another unnecessary comment. I restrain myself from acting on impulse. It's easy to entertain a poisonous pen on the other side of the screen. I can hide my truest self. Nobody can read beyond my camouflage. I can take on any shape I want, play up my best features, or highlight the worst ones if I so choose. I can act without courtesy, wound without will, dwell within a fantasy, enjoy the thrill of a rabbit hole world, entwined in the spider's web of the social network, caught between reality and the surreal life. Drama is too much at times. I have to limit my intake, lest I ingest too much. In the vast wasteland comes the call of the internet, begging for a few minutes to browse around. I must decide how to spend my time wisely. Will I build up, or shall I tear down? Am I willing to love or heave my power about? Just something to think about there. How are you spending your time on social networking? Are you heaving your power about, or are you sharing it in love and listening? Do you eat it before you tweet it? Or are you just tweeting the first thing that pops out there and say, all right, that just sounds good. So I'll just throw it out there. So that's a little something to think about. This next piece kind of came from last year, and it it's still kind of going on. I can't go into detail about it a lot, but I kind of wrote this because I kind of felt stuck in the situation. That was sort of the caught between two things. So I kind of wrote my thoughts down on it, and you can probably relate to it if you've ever been caught between two parties and you did not want to be caught in between unnecessarily. And I know sometimes you get caught between, sometimes in an argument when it's between two parties and they kind of make you the peacekeeper or a peacemaker, even though you don't want to be. And sometimes you try, but no go. So I wrote my thoughts on this, and I call it Peacemaker. Have I wasted my time waiting for you to hear? Is it so long to listen, so long to bother? Am I only pretending for sanity's sake? For what shall never go away? I wonder as the pain stabs at my chest, the heartache which tumbles throughout. I ask how long and wonder if we shall ever see eye to eye again. I don't know if you shall listen quickly, softly speak, or not rush to anger. I can only hope it will be, as injustice keeps pouring out, and love will not relinquish its mound. I wait and hold on best as I can, as though it feels as if mountains topple, as if my finger won't hold in the dam, and it will all tumble in one big whoosh. Blessed are the peacemakers that aren't drowned in the current of words or caught in the whirlwind of anger. For now I fight for peace. I fight for love. I fight to keep it together until the world disintegrates. I fight for friendship, even if it costs me vulnerability. I don't know how or when it will end, but I try to remember someday when it is over, resting in the promises, love will reign. And I don't know the answer to it, but I just keep holding in there and hanging on. Um, so this next piece I wrote, I called Disability Nation. I was inspired by another poem, and I thought, well, what would it look like if we created a nation about the disabled world? How would it sound? What would it look like? How would we recognize it? And disabled is a culture all its own, has its own language, it has its own way of identifying itself, and it's very unique. So this is dedicated to a lot of the warriors a lot of people I know who have advocated and been activists for years. This is for them. And they're still fighting to be heard and seen. Disability Nation. If I reside in a nation, it is called disability. It speaks its language, contains its currency, maintains its laws. There is no such thing known here called normal in society's sense of the word. It is a unique culture, with clothing and vehicles, driving on its roads with schools of thought, bridges of carbonate steel cut stones. I was told, you can't live in this place. It is not acknowledged, not accepted, or always represented in the media accurately. As a native, I educate, hoping to alter the perspective persistently. Maybe, some days, the United Nations will hold a vote, taking an interest, say I, and make it a nation of its own. Then I can pack my things, move in, and stay if I desire, or want to keep my nationality, since I have a passport already stating that I am resident of both here and Disability Nation. It may undergo a title change to something more intriguing, more fascinating, like the United Country of Neurodiversity. Possibly. Until then, I won't be able to leave behind my identity, or of dual citizenship in this place and a nation of disabilities. Inspired by the poem Disabled Country by Neil Marcus. So, um, it's something to think about there about my new country. This next piece I like to reflect on is there's a lot of apathy out there on social media. I don't think a lot of people realize it, but it wears a lot of faces. It can sometimes be a smiling face and yet hold a very cruel heart. And sometimes you got to be on top of these things and be more aware and vigilant to call it out for what it is. And so I was thinking a lot about masks and kind of how we wear our masks sometimes and like to hide our cruel comments behind our masks. So I wrote this one called Apathy Wears Many Faces. Apathy wears many faces, shape-shifting into our society. Sometimes it smiles sweetly in saccharine sweet lace comments, or else degrades in social media memes flickering, sent without a care in the world. It gorges on fear fueled thoughts, churning out hateful ideas, systematically debasing any whom they see as less than, or inhuman until erased by their own hands. Furtive laws in the making, swinging the gates on love shut tighter than barbed wire. Shocking, senses numb, and making one bristle an enticing desire to break a person into self loathing as is the best way to destroy humanity, and all without a thought on whether they live or die. Farther departed from their conscience, not aware of its consequences on the mind, and the death which eats the soul to nothing and enslaves the chains of their gnashing kind. I kind of like that last line. I don't know about you, but and the death which eats the soul to nothing and enslaves the chains of their gnashing kind. I know it's a terrible thought, but it's true. And so, and I always say that epilepsy is never the end of my story, and it never has been, because it's been a new chapter and it's been a new beginning. It's almost 20 years since my initial diagnosis, and so a lot's changed. I identify as epileptic, and I'm not afraid to say that because it's a part of my world, and it's definitely, shaped me and made me who I am today. And I'm not afraid to say it anymore. You know, I'm epileptic. So what? It's part of my identity. I'm happy about it. I'm epileptic. I don't mind being epileptic. And yes, I don't like having seizures. Therefore, I hate them. I hate having seizures. They're awful. But, I'm not afraid to say that anymore. It's part of my identity. Now I'm going way, way back to the second book I ever made, Purpleology. Can you believe that? Purpleology, just like the second book I ever wrote. It's like ancient history here. Um, so I'm gonna write about. So I'm gonna read for you Desert Rose, and some of you are really excited about this, but here we go. I am a desert rose, burning bush in the trees. Spoke God unto Moses, Take off your shoes, you are standing on holy ground. So my body is consecrated, though weakened from times of struggle. I stand alone in thistles and thorns, battered down by toils and snares. I tried running from myself as Moses did, but I could not escape my fate. Destiny, work, calling, life. It was meant for me and no one else. I am the desert rose, tint of my glasses, flesh weather baked by the sun, turned upside down and facing the world. Strange and new to me, a brand new identity, living utmost to keep singing. I think that kind of fits my identity. So, this one I wrote called Dance in the Dark. I wrote this after having one of my big seizures, where right half of my body just kind of just goes, and then I kind of wake up and it's over, and the world is fast and it goes in slow motion. And this kind of describes the process, the dance in the dark, keeping time to a whole new rhythm, up, down, up, down, up, down. Faster and faster, I can't keep up. Tempo keeps changing, the beat at breakneck speed. Gasping, coming up for air, catching my breath at a pause. The longer I go, the harder it is to move. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. My feet follow the steps on the floor, swirling, spinning, twirling to a tune of their own. Blindly guided by my partner Epilepsy, I must go on this track. No turning back now is set before me until it stops, and I pause in wonder at its sudden end. Yeah, it's like unbelievable that that happens, but it does. I know it seems unbelievable that I could come up with that illustration, but it's the best way I could describe it. This one I kind of had a little bit of humor to it. I mean, for me, this is the way I kind of made humor out of going to get an MRI. And this was just the first thing that popped in my head. Undergoing an MRI. I've had so many of them, so I kind of made a little light of it. Whir spins soft music playing. Slide in the machine like an astronaut. Ready for training. Round 1. Headphones slipped on. Vitals taken. Stanley Kubrick's 2001 A Space Odyssey comes to mind as machines blip and beep. Where indeed is my suit? Temperature set to Antarctic at least. The conveyor belt loads my undisclosed weight, a sack of potatoes. Buck and a quarter, monitoring the room blindly. I breathe, concentrated inhalation, exhalation. A sterilized voice, Siri like, over the headphones commands. Hold your breath for the next 30 seconds. Easy for you to say, I mutter to an impassive device. I take in air. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Each moment passes in a still life photograph. Siri calls to me from the silence of my thoughts. Hold your breath for the next 30 seconds. It adjusts, aligning to the last degree, until the endurance test is over. I get off, relieved I don't have to go on this ride again for some time. But hey, it's cheaper than NASA. So, yeah, I kind of wrote that and I really liked it. So I really do. The next piece I want to read for you called Light of Awareness. And now I can eventually call it Light of Acceptance. I see the world with violet eyes, not blue, not green, not brown or silver. The color of epilepsy isn't something I can dismiss. Its heart, soul, and mouth are my own. My vision is fine no matter what people say. I do not want it any other way. I love to see the world through violet eyes. It is a gift to see things differently. I will not stop talking lavender speech. I have eggplant substance and a purple heart. It is hard for some to understand how I live and breathe a purple world. Violet eyes are how I see. There is no other way for me to be me. And this has been, this next piece has been sort of like my prayer over the years, and advocating. And I've had to walk away a little bit because a number of people have wanted me to be something I can't be, which is sort of a Wonder Woman. And I've had to say no a number of times. So I still advocate, but I advocate in my own way. I don't like when people tell me how to advocate and what way I have to advocate and being pulled in numerous directions. I've had people that want me to be something I can't. I can't advocate for something I'm not sure about and I don't feel comfortable with at that point in time. And a lot of times I just had to say no. So, and sometimes I kind of felt like it wasn't me anymore and I was being something I wasn't. So I wrote this years ago just as a prayer to kind of keep myself in check. And I don't know, maybe some of you as artists or whatever vocation you're in, maybe you find yourself questioning your motives, going, okay, for what reason am I doing this? Is it, am I doing this because I care more about funding? Do I do this because I care about helping people? Or am I doing this because I kind of like being a martyr? Or maybe I just, you have to question your motives sometimes and say, am I exploiting people? Have I been using people? Have I been hurting myself by stretching myself too thinly? Maybe I forgot to take a break. Um, Maybe I care more about my ego trip and looking good. And I think it's a very important question. I think a lot of us need to ask ourselves. And sometimes you just have to walk away from it and sort of get back on track and figure out, okay, am I doing it for the best reasons? Or am I doing it simply because I just like looking good in front of people? Or I just like saying, hey, look how I'm helping so and so to, sort of promote how great I am and not really caring about person over here. Or I just care about, putting money in my pockets. I mean, having money is okay, but when you sort of make that your overall and end all, you kind of have to step back and maybe when somebody's, I don't know, but I think you might be doing it for the wrong reasons. I know sometimes we hate hearing that, but sometimes we kind of need that reality check. And so this kind of became my prayer. And I think a lot of times when you're advocating and you're an activist, I think sometimes you can get caught up in the activism and the advocating that you forget why you do it and the reason why you do it. You forget you are initially out there to, sort of help people. I think a lot of people get confused with that, or they do it out of fear because they don't want to be seen as different. Or, as my one friend has confessed, she did it because she wanted to keep proving herself as being worth it. And so she's had to say, I kind of stepped down a little bit because I just wanted to prove that I had a PhD. I had something. I wanted to be taken seriously. And I kind of felt myself getting a little caught up in that trap a little bit myself because a lot of times when I try to advocate at different places, I had people come up to me and say, "You don't have a PhD. Do you have a medical degree? Do you have a specialist to sort of like an epileptologist or a neurologist or epileptologist, by the way, is somebody who specializes in the study of neurology of epilepsy. How does it work? And neurologist studies how your brain works. That's the major difference. And when I said no, I don't have a medical degree. I'm not a specialist. I don't have a successful career. They kind of went, oh, well, if you would have this person and this organization backing you up and blah, 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 blah. And they gave me this whole long speech about it. I realized that I kind of felt less than. A lot of times I kind of felt, like I had to work twice as hard. I had to put my PhD, I had to go pursue these things. I wanted to be the person, sort of like the person. And I think sometimes that's a little difficult. And now I really don't want to be the person. I'm tired of being the person, the expert, the smart person in the room. And I kind of walked away from that because I got tired of being the smart person in the room who always had to know the answers to things. And I mean, I still know a lot of things about it, but there's a lot, and I will admit it, I don't know everything about every disability in the world. I'm still learning, okay? Read my lips. I am still learning. I don't know everything. That's why I try to pull people who actually have these things, other disabled persons. That's why I'm trying to listen to other disabled voices. And I think that's why we need to listen to more disabled voices more than ever instead of always expert opinions, people with PhDs. And that's why I wrote this prayer of sorts because it's so easy to get caught up in the advocating and in the activism, whether, and even not that, even when you're a writer, you kind of get caught up in the successfulness of how well you're doing, and we kind of forget that. So that's why I wrote this. So here it goes. Prayer of the Advocate. Have I made it irrelevant? Have I turned it into something obnoxious? Have I competed with others for a voice? Have I made it about money? Profits in my pockets. If I focused on gains, make sure I step down from this pulpit of shame. Turn away from this work. If my work platforms my biased, blackened obsessions, turn my eyes again towards the truth, that I may never forget why I am meant to do, not in the eyes of the public, but in the presence of you, O Lord. Some of you might feel a little bit humbled about that, but I'm speaking the truth in love. And that's kind of has what hit me a lot is that I just needed to step away from it because I felt so pressured to be the all and the expert, the person who knows these things, and I don't want to be that person anymore. I'm tired of it. It's just worn me down in so many ways. So this next one's a little bit different. I have a really good friend, and a fellow epileptic who's an artist, and she's awesome. And we had a conversation, and she had to go get a major test done, and she said, "I think my brain has stage fright." And I thought, that would make a great line for a poem. So I sat down and I wrote this piece called "My Brain Has Stage Fright." Hope you enjoy it. My brain has stage fright, fearing failure and discovery. My mind is not ready to enter the age of tests which read in spike and wave. It can't handle the pressure of an all-nighter. Hyperventilation sets in. Colors come in a firework of settings. Patterns boldly challenge my thinking. But I know this is not the end of me. I know I must push through. Victory is hard won and worth each blister, each painful scourge. I can't epilepsy conquer me. Choose wisely how to handle circumstances. Overcome. My brain has stage fright. Nevertheless, I will fight. Come on, epilepsy. Bring it on. And so I wrote that down. I am going to read for you another piece from a different book. I wrote this. Well, this is going to be possibly in another book. I'm calling this book unknown title. Might be in the book, may not. I call this the Corona Lament. It didn't make it in the book, but here we go. How many more must die before we learn to cherish life, instead of chasing the almighty dollar? No sense beating it into our brains. The length our carelessness contains, what others choose is on their terms, even when they ignore the truth. It is a jagged, bitter pill to swallow. I gulp it down with handfuls of parched words. God, help us with our bitter hearts. Release the viper's brooding, poison seeping in the wounds. Help us to see you with clarity, to hear you with honesty, to be your hands and feet. Please turn us to you. Don't abandon your children as we wait for hope to come. With each setting sun, may your light shine on us once more. This next project I kind of wrote in between books. I made it sort of an audio album with the notes, which you can get on my Patreon page, patreon.com/epivision, and you can support me through that for as little as $3 a month, and you can be a member of the club, and you can read some of my latest news and join me in just being part of the community. And you can enjoy some of my works before they're even released, and learn how to just be part of it by joining the community. And you can even get other things such as my cookbook that I'd written about the Nutcracker, one of my favorites, by the way. So this one's from Afterthought, thoughts called The World I Knew. So this is from Hello everyone, I'm Diamaretti Teddy Sousa, and welcome to the Living Room Sessions. Hope everyone's having a wonderful day wherever you are. I don't know how you all are doing, but probably for a lot of you, this has felt like the longest haul in the world on so many different levels. I know for me, this has been quite a time, a lot of changes, a lot of adjustments, a lot of different things happening. So, probably a lot of you are wondering when I'm going to write my next book. So, I'm mapping it out right now. I'm calling it A History of Disabled Voices. I'm not sure what to title it yet. It's up in the air right now. But I'm trying to make a collective narrative of disabled history from past, present to future sort of voices, trying to make a collective narrative of sorts to sort of give it an even flow of how we want to be seen and heard. And that's kind of my goal right now, trying to figure out how I want to create this narrative overall, if it's going to be sort of a big, long, different voices spoken word album of sorts, or if it's going to be written down orally and then with an oral history. I'm not sure right now. I'm just mapping it out. But that's enough about my project. That's still a work in progress. So I'm going to read a couple of things from old works and maybe give you some slight hints about some new works I hope you enjoy. So the first one was from a book I wrote during the on break of the pandemic last year. I wrote with a couple of friends from Flood City Fest. If you are familiar with Flood City Fest or the FCF family known as J Fest, you might know some of the names like Windwards, Janelle Marie, Kavina Hall, um, Nat Fitzgerald, Jacob Goins. You might know some of those names. And my good buddy, Kat Slagle, uh, and Jay Coslow, who helped runs Flood City Fest, who's an absolutely awesome person. A lot of these people are absolutely amazing. So this book was about this, for me, was the journey of lamenting. And I kind of wanted to put down a couple things that had happened in my life and just writing about the lamenting season. So I'm going to share with you a couple of pieces from that. Um, this one I call Lamenting of the Prayer of the Forgotten Soul. Wish I wasn't lonely, longing for a friend. Another season of waiting, hoping that maybe someone will want to hang out when I ask them to. Instead of writing texts or instant messaging, I try connecting at local clubs, meeting people, places. I feel extra lonely in the crowd. I speak, but no one hears me. Does anyone care? I utter under my breath. Another long, painful season on my own. Independence is not my friend, but the darkened room is, where no one sees me cry, tears-soaked pillows, sobbing out prayers, laments from the heart, sleeping, dreaming of when I shall see a friend some day, but it feels long gone, a song put on repeat. God, don't forget me, as others do. God, be near me, where others refuse. I seek you in my lonely place, needing refuge from this cold space. I feel abandoned in the darkness of despair. Remind me of your presence. I trust and hope, hanging on the tethers of my rope. God, please don't forget me, as others do. So that was through a lot of messy periods. This last year was definitely messy. I don't know about you, but it was definitely messy for me. Um, and so the next piece I'd like to read from this that I had written, and I think a lot of people could relate to this one. And I wrote this during the anniversary to celebrate the anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act, also known as ADA to a lot of us. It was made in 1990, so part of history there. It's 30 years old. Well, now I'll be 31. Wow. I call this one underrated. Hope you enjoy it. The underrated protest, neglected awareness, long overshadowed by circumstances on a runaway train. It burns my heels when another appeal falls on unwilling hearts and ignorant ears. Too long sitting about, putting feet to actions. Let voices be loud and clear, trampled to the ground. You shake your heads in agreement, though you don't understand what it means to care, to protect, to love, and to serve. When those of us considered the least of these, we are people too. And we need people like you to help us see it through. Um, the next one I'd like to read, I wrote after I found out it'll be couple of years now since my friend died. She died on Easter. It was it happened to be April Fool's Day that year, and I didn't know that she died. So my friend wrote me and said, "Hey, guess what? Our friend died." And I went, "What? Are you kidding?" She said, "No, she's died." And it kind of happened, and we've been college buddies for a long time, and she just died. So I kind of wrote down everything I was feeling at the moment, and out came this piece called Sun and Snow. This morning I heard you were gone, so I sat down to write you a song. The time spent with you seems so long ago. I recall the days we shared random road trips and dance parties. I enjoyed your wacky sense of humor, infectious laugh, and late night stories. There gleamed plenty of hopes in your eyes. But your time came, and I forgot to say see you later or goodbye. I knew you went away, and our plans got delayed. You moved to another state, hungry for opportunity knocking at your door. Taking chances, no second glances, as you made your mark in your own way, no glimpses back to yesterday. Oh, I have seen the sunshine, walked in the pouring rain, traveled through the storms, wondering when they would end. I have traversed the cloudy skies, unsure where my feet would land. I have said goodbye more times than I care to count upon my hands. Yet I have hoped to see your smile at least once more, my friend. Dear Father, help me walk this valley low, though it seems a blandishing of better times. Aid me to stand still and listen, as I weep alongside my friends. Lacerations cut deep, knocking the wind from beneath my feet. Unable to speak or cry, my heart uttering sorrows too deep, no mind can understand. I release to you with open hands, vulnerably, humbly, hoping to press me to life's tasks. Oh, I have seen the sunshine, walked in the pouring rain, traveled through the storms, wondering when they would end. I have traversed the cloudy skies, unsure where my feet would land. I have said goodbye more times than I care to count upon my hands. Yet I hope to see your smile at least once more, my friend. 10 years is a long spell of friendship, hard to keep. Distance and life distract the essentials of being alive and celebrating each season. Much can change a person's perspective of being, but you stood through many yeses. Sorry to say I wasn't always there to uphold my end. Try as I might, I failed many times to be as supportive as I'd like. However, you understood and stood by. Youth can only turn mature, tempered by hard lessons and growing pains, wizened by sowing the seeds of difficulties and strain. You had your share of them too, and many losses. Now it's you. So I tip my hat in kudos, thankful for the memories shared. Oh, I have felt the sunshine, walked in the pouring rain, traveled through the storms, wondering when they would end. I have traversed the cloudy skies, unsure where my feet would land. I have said goodbye more times than I care to count upon my hands. Yet I hope to see your smile at least once more, my friend. I hope to see you smile one more time, my friend. Some day, maybe, I will see your smile again. Now I'm going to read for you one more from this book about lamenting. And this book was kind of hard to write. I admit it freely that I did not know how to write this book. It took me a while to write it. I'm like, how am I going to write this book? How am I going to write this book? I'm going to write about it, but I don't know how to write it. So I kind of reached out to people, and some responded and some did not really. But I'm really happy for those that did. I'm thankful that they decided to hop on board and just wanted to be part of the project when they did. And so I'm going to read for you one more. And I call this Waiting in the Unknown. Hope is my stronghold. I want to hold your hand, walk with you again, though my heart is grieving the distance. I keep my hope alive. Some day we shall be together. I don't know where or when. It is a long journey, holding out when uncertainty lies ahead. You can only watch and pray. Be vigilant, not complacent. It takes so much for me to stand strong, though I am weary. My feet trod the well-worn path. I can't do much except walk on. As the days grow short, hours are tremulous. Um, This next set of works is from here, called The World is Catching Up. And I wrote this because during the pandemic, a lot of the world was sort of slowed down. And finally, I kind of felt like the world was catching up to my speed. And I talked to a number of people, and they went, I never realized what your world was like. Always having to rely on social networking, connecting with people, and having to do a lot of your work online. I never realized what your world was like. I said, yeah, welcome to my world. You kind of have a taste of it, but the difference between you and me is you will return to the world and will go back. Me, this is my permanent. This is my normal. For you, you're being thrown off balance. So you get to experience somewhat of how I am experiencing the world, but not totally. So it's not quite the same, but you kind of get a little taste of it. So I wrote The World is Catching Up. And this was kind of a reflection of what life was like during a lot of that time. So here it goes. I had to chase time, pin down the hours and minutes to pursue a dream, settle the schedule to stay on track for everything, work with a pencil in hand. Erasers are handy when things don't go as planned. Circumstances are altered, life slowed down. No rushing about, flurried and flustered with the times at the pace of now. Instead, the world, it seems, is catching up to my speed. No hurry, no stressing on the unnecessary details, or anxious thoughts on the seconds lost to other things. I am mapping my days, adjusting my plans, present in the little glimmers, the slivers of hope, extending each memory to spend my life in the presence of you. The next piece I kind of wrote where I finally came to the point where I accept identifying my disability as part of my identity. And I came up with a company I call No Shrinking Violet, and I kind of wanted to put a spin on that and write about why I came up with the logo, No Shrinking Violet, why this company. So I sort of wrote it down into a poem called No Shrinking Violet. And I accompanied it with a picture of a violet. I love violets a lot. They're one of my favorite flowers. So I wanted to sort of put it out there. When I go, don't wear black for me. I hate it when you weep in dreads of gray and deep silver. I won't be happy knowing you hold it against me for leaving you. You cry as if I am gone forever, that I am spending an eternity in another world, isolating myself inside a balloon of my own making. Too bad you have not understood a single word I have said. I am not dead, but living much better than you believe, especially in social media settings. Please wear something brighter, in lilacs at least. No, I am far from running out on this fight. I am speaking up with a voice of my own. Remember, I am not alone. This war is not over. I have yet begun to battle better, even to the bitter end. I am hardly a shrinking violet. And that's kind of a little bit of what I feel about it. Another piece I'd like to read from you is unreleased, and I may include it in the book. I call this one I Wear the Social Mask. I think a lot of times we kind of wear these social masks to kind of hide ourselves away so people can't see our authentic selves. And in disabled culture, I think a lot of us wear these social masks to sort of to put ourselves in survival mode. And I think in my own and in my own experiences, I kind of got tired of putting on the survival mode because I wanted to thrive, not merely survive. So I wrote this um, for a number of my friends who kind of feel like they're suffocating behind the social mask because they feel like they don't want to be ostracized or critiqued for being different. So I wrote this for them. I wear the social mask to play the fool, to cheer even in my discomfort, amusing and delighting with my attitude. I hide in my closest I hide in my closet multiple faces, burying each one at different phases, disguising the pain when needed, only swallowing it deeper beneath the surface. The discomfort grows, the pit of anxiety widens. Its chasm wants me to jump in at any given moment. I mimic my peers for I fear obsoleteness, loneliness, and the ache for community. So I put on my best expression, wearing it though I don't want to half the time, because I long to belong somewhere. And maybe you have kind of done that just to put on the, oh, I'm fine, just to say, oh yeah, I'm perfectly fine. Yeah. How many times have you said that? Come on, admit it. Just by saying, yeah, I'm okay. Yeah, I'm perfectly fine. And I think I've admitted to saying, yeah, I'm fine, I'm not fine. But I just do it to simply make people quit asking me that question. How are you? Because I get tired of it. Can't you ask me something different? So I kind of want to unmask myself. I think when we create a space where we can unmask ourselves safely, and that's why I kind of picked my Purpleology mask, because I want to take off my mask and reveal my struggles and my um problems with my disabled self. So, as an advocate in my disabled world, and let people see that. This next piece I'm hoping to put into my next book is called Compartmentalized Selves. I don't know about you, but maybe where you grew up, you kind of were put into these, you kind of were taught to put your world into these little boxes of sorts where you put kind of your school friends or your school self over here, your home self here with how you treat your family here, and maybe when you're out with your other friends, like your social self here, and then maybe with your private struggles, maybe your disabled self, you put it way over here, and then you have your other self like way over here. You have these little boxes. There's a problem with little boxes is when you have these little cute little boxes, you kind of divide yourself up too much, and then there's no interaction, there's no flow, and you always seem to have to divide yourself up, and there's no room for you. And they're always going to cross. I'm sorry to say this, but your boxes are always going to break out. You need to break out of those boxes and realize that there's always going to be intersectionality. That's your big word of the day. That means that you're always going to have overlap. Your friends, your family, your disabled self is always going to be overlapping, and are interconnecting. It's always going to happen. No avoiding it. And it can be dangerous when you compartmentalize yourself because you can sort of say, oh, my disabled self is over here, so it's kind of going to shove it over here, and I'm going to put my more social self, my more socially acceptable self out here. Nobody will know about this, right? Wrong. So wrong. Your disabled self is important. You have to put it out there. I know a lot of people don't like to say that, but it is very important. So, compartmentalized selves is kind of a reflection on how I needed to break down those walls, and maybe you need to break down those walls and sort of have them overlap and realize that they're all connected. So here it goes. Compartmentalize myself into selves until my selves don't overlap. It is a pain to separate myself into categories, a variation for every mood. Musical self, advocate self, writer self, caregiver self, friend self, sister self, community self. The oleo goes on and on. The circles overlap and cross paths. There is no room for separate selves. I am a complicated web woven into a unique garment. a patchwork quilt of scars and wounds, worth every square inch to tell stories for generations to come. I wrote this because a lot of times, maybe during this past year or so, um, you can feel something I call empathy exhaustion, and you can get very tired, and you get really tired, and you just need to rest a little bit because you've given so much of yourself. You just need to slow down. So I'm not sure if I'm going to include this, but I might in the history of my next book. I call it empathy exhaustion. Maybe you can relate to this. I don't know if you will, but it's kind of something I've experienced with exhaustion, being so exhausted because I've given so much of myself that I care so much that I get really tired. Spoken enough about empathy to the point of begging on my knees, asking for someone to listen, yet I have done so much, until my gauge of advocacy is about dried up. I have to stop and take a rest lest my gasket blows. And I don't know if I can take any more. I won't answer those engagements straining me, as if I must become some Wonder Woman performing stunts on Sinai, or worse, a hiker descending Mount Everest. I resign myself to a period of silence. Facebook and social media followers must expect it. I don't have to say yes to every detail. No is a word worth exercising. I will not be led into the garden path, pretending I am fine when my body flies apart. I have to make the best decision even when it costs me. So what if my numbers go down or I lose support? I know the truth and I am loved. Empathy is done being worn on my sleeve. I keep it tucked underneath and use only as directed. So, um, I'd like to hear your thoughts if you are following me on my Facebook page, or if you follow me through Instagram or Google. I would love your thoughts. So, this next one might be included in my new book. I call it Dear Ableism. I'm kind of addressing ableism as a person, and this is kind of how I feel about ableism, and I hope you enjoy it. I call this Dear Ableism. Ableism, noun, prejudice against a person whose abilities are limited due to mental, physical, or intellectual disabilities, or a combination of all of them. Barriers of any kind to prevent integrative living. Dear ableism, you are a cunning little devil, always cutting me down to size, smiling with your mouth but not your eyes. You tell me I look fine when I am hurting inside. My disability isn't that bad. Others have it worse than me. You force me to compare myself to others in the mirror, claiming I don't belong in the real world. Somehow I have to masquerade, pass myself off as a fake all the time. You make me believe I am only valued for my giftedness. If I have no gift, I am less than or nothing. If I don't speak, I am 1/8 of a person, 1/2 of a half if you divide me up, with my hidden disability and my lack of speech. If I do speak, it is merely to complain, and nobody likes it when you ask for accommodations. Or so you told me. You reduced me to a shadow of myself. When people saw me wince under fluorescent lights, assuming I was blind or asking if I needed a service dog, when I am neither, then believing I was faking it. You ushered me away when I ruined a camera angle because those glasses of mine caused too much refraction on the lens. I was told to take them off, and when I refused, the young man got upset. I was not meant to be here, not to be seen and heard, especially at an eatery. You said I was bothering everyone, being a burden and asking too much. When I found you out, you were upset. When I said we are breaking up, you couldn't handle it any more. You called me too much, too picky, too whiny, too demanding. Though I struggle with you, this time I won't let you hold me under. I will thrive without you. Telling me I am a problem child. You might have stolen some things from me, friendships, fellowships, opportunities to work, but you will never steal my hope. I don't know what all your thoughts are on it. Maybe some of you are going, yeah, tell it like it is. I can't hear your thoughts right now, but I hope you enjoy it and get back to me on it and tell me if you are just feeling something. So please let me know. I would love your thoughts. I would definitely love to know what you would like to see in my latest book. And I would love your sponsorship to keep me going and writing and knowing that you are. And I'm just thankful if you're watching this or have followed me and have said. So this is a little different for me. This next one, I would love your thoughts on it. I kind of read it while watching the rain fall down. So it's called Nothing's More Honest Than a Rainy Day. Again, if you have any thoughts on this, just please tell me. Yay. Or go, it needs a lot of work. Okay, probably a lot of these need a little bit more work with the newer pieces, but that's okay. So here we go. Nothing's more honest than a rainy day. It cries the blues and washes o'er me. I feel its sorrow and its agony. I want to bathe in its tears today. The gloom consumes me with all its might. Yet there is beauty I cannot help but admire. For the trees will grow, the seeds will sow, more life than before. So that's a little piece. I'd probably have some rain in the picture, maybe falling on trees and just have you look at it and feel sort of relaxed. And I always kind of write these things down as I think of them. I call this last one of the new pieces Raw Emotional Outburst. The waves break upon the branches until they can't adapt, sorrow pouring from angry clouds, howling winds of wrath pressing out from cumulonimbus, emotionally raw and hard not to look away. Wrecking woodlands, still life in photographs. Scales of a broken limb dangle limply in the greenery until it passes quickly to its next destination, forgetting the swell of anger in its breast, beating on serene land, returning to gentle sunshine and tranquil skies. I wrote that one last year. And now, finally, the last piece de resistance. I know a lot of you are kind of waiting for what I'm going to read last. So this is the last one. I call this one You Belong. Like, you belong. I have this as my new picture for the belonging place. My sister company, group that I started that I want to create as an interdependent community, and I hope you will join it. If you are an artist, we can create sort of a community of sorts between disabled and able community. And I want a lot of people to come into it with different perspectives, and we can learn so much from each other. So that's kind of my dream. It's been a slow process right now, but I'm hoping it'll grow at some point. But for now, I'm just satisfied for where it's at. But I know it'll get there. So here we go. You belong. Just to let you know, if you need to hear this, you belong here in this place. Okay? Just letting you know, care about you, and you belong in this place. So here we go. You belong in this place, in this moment, right now, right here. You have a space reserved. Your name is on it. Take your seat. Claim it in the name of camaraderie. I seek you out. Please be my neighbor. Be my friend. The invitation is open. So the invitation's open. You can join the belonging place, or you can join my community and be a supporter of Epivision. That's my community. You can join through Patreon and be a supporter. I would love to have you be part of it. Thank you so much for being part of this event. I'm so glad to have you spend time with me here. I really appreciate you, and I hope to hear from you soon. Please take care and have a great week. Bye.